Hey everyone, Dan here. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. And keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as, investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. Enjoy. Alright folks, here we are on Friday, March 22nd. We're going to take a look at Palantir today. So Palantir doing a really impressive job. I think I said this last video as well, which maybe would have been in this area here somewhere. That I'm really impressed how well it's holding the gains over 20 here, and really hasn't had any sort of serious bearish momentum bringing it below this like 23-ish dollar level. So that's a solid percentage above 20, if it's able to continue to hold that 23. Now, I don't know how many more times it can go back there. If it does, I'd start to be sort of interested to see, are the buyers going to continue to show up in that range? If it does dip down here again, or even if it comes back down 2 more times, at what point are the buyers just not there? And then, there's no barrier to it just sort of capitulating at that point and us getting maybe a deeper dive down. We'll see if it even comes into play, but it would be nice for the bulls at least to see if it can just sort of leave that $23 level alone for the foreseeable future. Now, if it does that, it could certainly continue to go a little bit sideways here, kind of batting itself between 24 and 25. We'll see if that takes shape. If it does want to make another run, that 26.79 coming into play ahead of trying to overcome this swing high of 27.50, which then would unlock that $28 level, and then of course that 29.19. I don't know if that approach to 30 is really in the cards in the sort of near to midterm, but certainly we'll see. If it does lose that $23 level, 21.21, 20.01, and 19.19. You see there's a bunch of other levels below that. We've been tracking Palantir for a long time, but and it can move quite crazy quite quickly. As I say that, my next thought was it can also move quite sideways for quite some time, which we've spoken about a lot as well. But I'm going to leave the range in here. When we zoom in, it's not that horrendously cluttered, but I know it is a lot of levels on the chart. But just keeping in mind how volatile it can be, it seems prudent to leave these there for the time being. Now, on the Thinkorswim side of things, my question here is, the person who developed this study that we're looking at, or at least the base version of the study that we're looking at, has this pattern that he calls the VAMI down and then a VAMI up pattern. But VAMI down pattern is basically when this, as he describes it, was this wave cloud starts to look like a dolphin. I don't know how much it starts to look like a dolphin, but it starts to have this like sort of arched back, or you picture like a dolphin jumping out of the ocean, and then it comes down to sort of the snout down here. And then you look for a couple of wings, which would be the fins back here. So this is starting to look a little bit like that to me. This area here is still relatively thick. I'd look for it to thin out. If it does continue to thin out, then it may really start to look like that VAMI down pattern. And what the VAMI down pattern, what you look for it to do is come up, you get these couple of wings, you get this sort of ever narrowing nose, if you will, and then a plummet. So basically a capitulation like we talked about. But it's one of those things where you start to look for an outsized move from that pattern. And what you're looking for at the VAMI down is a big move down. So I don't know if that will continue to develop. To my eye, it's not quite there yet. But of interest, it is back to the mid-range of the channel. And today, at least, it put in its first trigger candle. So is it going to continue to trigger? That could be quite interesting. We had a trigger and fire back here, which didn't really amount to much of anything. I mean, I guess it took it from about 26 or so down to 23. So maybe that's a decent percentage move. But if it's already sort of going to re-trigger and refire, that to me could get really, really, really interesting. We do see the bearish momentum picking up a little bit here on the histogram. So again, all sort of indications that have me sort of curious if this VAMI down is going to continue to take shape and if it's going to play out how you would expect it to. Now keep in mind, even a pattern that you're looking at, a flagging pattern, a head and shoulders pattern, any of these things, a double bottom, just because you would say double bottom, typically we look for that then to move to the upside, right? Or an ascending triangle, typically we look for that to break out to the upside. Same thing with a Vami down. We look for it to move down, but not everything is, what should I say here? Nothing is 100%. So double bottoms don't mean that it has to jump up. Head and shoulders doesn't mean that it has to fall down. Those patterns can present themselves, and sometimes they're right, and you hope that more often than not that they are right, and sometimes they develop and they're there, and the thing that you're looking for it to do, it just doesn't do it. And that's, again, that is a result of nothing being 100%. Certainly in the stock market, nothing is 100% as you're looking at levels and patterns and stuff like that. But we hope that more often than not, they do play out the way that we're looking for them to, and that may, in periods of time, feel like it gives us some sort of a guideline or an advantage to be able to kind of piece some of these things together. So, long explanation, but that is what I'm looking for right here. See if it's going to play out or not. All right, folks, I hope that you're enjoying your weekend, and as always, I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next video.